My name is Amie Weizer, and I am the Director of Operational Excellence at Zenzai. Zenzai is a talent management platform that allows organizations to help employees feel unparalleled learning, growth, and engagement. Our platform brings all of those things together and really helps employees drive the success of the organization. This organization I've been with for the last 3 years. I started in the organization as customer success, truly a customer success manager, grew into head of customer success, and I was able to really bring a lot of operational principles to the organization in the customer success lens. That's what started to get me to understand that there could be a lot more that we do to bring the sales, the customer success, and our marketing teams together, which paved the way for me to start a revenue operations team. The revenue operations team at Zenzai has been functioning now for the last year, so a lot of lessons learned and a lot more things that we'd like to accomplish. At our organization, while I was leading customer success, I quickly understood that sales wasn't leaving notes and they weren't always helping us to help the customer reach their goals, whether it was through data loss or it was just not being captured. So from there, what we needed to do was do a good, better, best approach and understand that we're not going to yet purchase a tool. We need to build the foundation and understand why aren't these fields being filled in? Why isn't the information making it to the appropriate teams? In doing that discovery, we really looked at each field by field and we understood what is being filled in, what could we take away so that sales has more time freed up to do other things. So that journey actually took quite some time, and I mean 2 years worth of time where I finally got to the point of saying, okay, now we need to look at what we can do differently. So we started looking at these various solutions, and some of them even being like the middlemen, where an Adobe sign would allow us to have the customer tell us who they want invoiced and who they want their payment terms to, but taking it to the next level of being able to then say, okay, and now the customer is doing all of this digitally and it's being filled in our systems digitally. That's what led us to a CPQ, and that's what led us to having DealHub be able to say, we can automate all of these things that happen. We can take all of the data from our CRM, put it into this interface that the CPQ does in Dynamics, and allow our sellers to really only focus on what matters. They don't fill in things anymore like the customer's address, the customer's industry. They fill in the things that matter, like how many users, which products do you want to buy? Then when you get to the very end of the deal room and the customer is coming back to you with who actually their invoicing contacts are, who's their project contacts, all things that I'm super thrilled about because I've been in the customer success side where the person who bought is not the person who's using the tool or who's rolling it out. So just little tweaks like that have already shown successful in our organization where we've now captured the right contacts at the right time, and we're asking the customer to tell us this information as opposed to relying on someone from sales to do so. The most common question we got when we got the CPQ was, are we getting rid of CRM? Yeah. Very common misconception that the CRM goes and replaces the CRM. Obviously it doesn't, it enriches it. It really works as a middle layer. So in our current setup with Dynamics 365, our sellers used to be in a situation where they had an account with multiple different opportunities. I'm talking one opportunity for every single product. That was a very manual process for sales to have to do, one opportunity per product they were selling, especially in a multi-product motion. So from there, then our CPQ now allows us to have an interface where they're clicking a button as soon as they generate an opportunity that allows them to put multiple products, multiple variations, all onto a single quote, onto a single opportunity. And then the beauty of it is that our sales team never goes back into CRM after they've started the quoting process, because everything is handled in DealHub. Whether you're duplicating a quote, you're creating something new, or the customer has signed, we automated the process. So seconds after the customer signs, it comes into our CRM and our sellers get to celebrate that was deal closed as one feeling. And that's super exciting because previously RevOps used to have to spend time confirming, does the quote match the invoice? Does it match the account? Does it match everything? Now it's all 100% integrated because from the get-go, we know the account information from CRM, the interface of the CPQ dictating what is being purchased, and then it feeding in the final version, that quote to the invoice, everything has all the same information, so nobody spends any time order processing anymore. I am very lucky with the implementation team I got at DealHub because I quickly formed a relationship with our CSM and our solution architect. Coming from our organization where it really was the Wild West of selling, where everybody in their own region had their own way of doing things, I really needed to understand best practices from our CSM and our solution architect. So there were many planning conversations we had before we even started doing any technical architecting, because we needed to get to that point of saying, what is our baseline? What is the best practice here? So Noah and Sav, shout out to these ladies who helped us so far along the way in getting that done. It's been a great experience with them to implement for our new logos inside of CPQ, and now we're continuing down the path into expansions, renewal, and so on. Our implementation took longer than most because of having multiple different regions doing things multiple different ways. Ours was really more close to 4 or 5 months because that's what it took to understand that baseline. And then building on top of that baseline with indexing and all kinds of other flexibilities we can do in the CPQ. We had a rollout that involved getting change champions involved. So people who saw the tool before it was live for everybody else in this pilot period. These change champions that we worked with throughout the testing and the piloting were obviously giving us good feedback and good insights, so we were building a solution that worked for the sales team and wasn't just our expectation of what would work for the sales team. So some of those champions ran out early when we started implementing with new logos, and I made sure to follow up with each one of them after they got their first quote signed. And I was like, what's the experience? What do we still need to improve? How does this get even better? I had one of our sellers come back to me and say that you helped me get a quote sent, signed, and processed in 3 hours that they were able to get everything done. So seeing the joy in the seller's face when we were able to close a deal that quickly because it was a rather simplistic deal, that builds momentum for the rest of the organization to understand that, hey, this person got a quote sent, signed, and delivered in under 3 hours. You can have the same kind of success, and then the product's flying off the shelves because the CPQ takes all the administrative burden away from this quote needs to be edited, this person needs to sign, this clause needs to be changed. No, it's all in one system. It's all in one platform. The customer is happy and we're happy. Absolutely, so much longer. We were hearing our reps were explaining that it took between 30 minutes and 2 hours to create a quote, depending on what they were doing. Whether it was not having the exact pricing or needing to go back on the history of the account, there's various reasons why it could take that long. Now it takes our sellers 3 to 5 minutes to create a quote. So the time savings alone in the quote creation has been instrumental at our organization. It's an incredibly challenging thing to do regardless of the tool, because what you need is alignment and buy-in. So through implementation of DealHub, we picked a champion from every region. So I'm talking our general managers in each of our various regions, and ensured that they understood what we were trying to achieve with rolling out the CPQ, and then also gave that chance for feedback loops. So if they were hearing something in their region, how were they working through it, and how were they helping reinforce some of those decisions that were made? That reinforcement piece, I think, is the most important part, because we can all agree to a plan, but reality will be different. So ensuring somebody will be the tough guy and say, this is the decision we've made, we're going to stick to it, you don't have to agree, we call it disagree, and commit. Everybody will then go on that same path and say, maybe it's going to be in 3 months, we'll take a look at it again and say maybe it wasn't the right decision, but for now, this is where we're going, this is the decision we collectively agreed to. So what I appreciate about DealHub is giving us a pricing source of truth. In our old way of working, we used to have every single region had their own source of truth. So with DealHub, we're now able to say, here's the baseline, and now we have indexes for various industries. We have discounts for various industries. Gives you the ability to put some things in boxes and be able to say, this is the standard, but here's the changes we might want to do. I know in DealHub at the product summary page inside of the guided selling, every time you see a little purple arrow, that's how you know something can be edited. So our sales team for sure knows which fields they can edit, which fields they can't, and that obviously helps us along the way as well. Here's the guardrails, but here's where you can make changes. The implementation and customer success team at DealHub has been absolutely phenomenal because we needed to be guided along on this journey. We were coming from every single piece of the organization doing things just a little bit differently. So being able to understand from Noah and Sav what best practices are, not necessarily in the industry, but just across organizations who are of our size. Understanding then if the best practices are XYZ, I have that ammunition to take to our executive team and say, this is how I'd like to build this feature, or this is how I see this happening in the future. I know there were so many times as well where our CTO came onto the calls and we had to have a conversation with our CTO of, here's how other organizations have done it, here's how you want to do it, how do we compromise, how do we meet in the middle? It was wonderful having the DealHub team's experience be able to guide us along our path. So in RevOps, obviously, a lot of what we have to do is controlling and governance. And we have to make sure that, again, the quote matches the invoice, matches the opportunity, and everything is all very well aligned into our systems. So now having DealHub, we no longer have to have up to 48 hours of review on every single deal. It previously took us a lot of time to make sure every new logo that came in, all of those things were in order. Now it is literally automatic. As soon as the signature happens, it comes into our opportunity, it's closed as one, and the subscription just has to be reviewed. There's now no longer a delay of, why hasn't RevOps closed my deal? It's now instantly closed, and I don't get to hear anybody say, why haven't you done this yet? I'm super excited to learn about the API endpoints for DealHub because I was just recently talking to our customer success manager about a challenge we have with the source of truth for pricing. Our sellers are used to working in Excel, and that's where they love and that's where they feel comfortable being able to change their own prices. So in the past, I've built a lot of calculators in Excel that allowed them to get different configurations. The reason we brought the CPQ is because that's not a scalable way of doing things, and that doesn't give you a source of truth. So now we are able to, with these endpoints and this new feature we're working towards, is being able to put kind of like a middle layer in between. So our sellers don't want to click 10 different times in order to create a quote every single time they want to get a price. The API endpoints actually allow me to build a ballpark pricing calculator as an interface inside of CPQ. So the source of truth comes from CPQ, and I'm not stuck in Excel getting all complex formulas figured out. It's just all connected to the same system. Generally, a CPQ is a great start for an organization for them to start structuring and governing how some of these things work, but just acknowledge that it's a journey and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's really challenging to change behaviors. So the more you can bring people in early, the more you can bring them along as you go. Also keeping a log of like what questions were asked, how did you answer them? Is this something you're actually going to action on, or is this something that we as a company made a decision not to do? Really being able to outline each of those things and then understand that it's a journey and it's not going to take us just a week to get this done, a month to get this done. It's a long-term vision of we want to be more agile in how we quote, we want to be more agile in how we price, and we see this tool enabling us to do that.